Welcome to the Perspective Podcast. Josue here. As you guys probably already know, I'm from the Democratic Republic of Congo. I attended the Oral Roberts University. I preach at time. I'm a fellow believer. And with me today, we have Mr. Chase Brown. He went to University of North Texas. He's a native Texan. He's an aspiring philanthropic creative, and he loves very long walks on the beach. Why that is, I have no idea. So hopefully today, we'll be able to get into that. Chase Brown, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, man.
Yeah.
It's
You sound exhausted.
I mean, a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a Thursday, which for some reason was your favorite day of the week. I don't know why.
I don't know why either.
But I'm tired.
Thursday's a good day.
But no, it's good. I'm glad to say that the Father's been doing a lot of special things in my heart over the last week to 2 weeks, stuff like that we talked about beforehand. And then went down to Austin. Just got back from Austin. Was that last night?
Feels like yesterday, right?
Yeah, yesterday, something like that. Hanging out down there for Grayson's birthday. So shout out to Grayson.
Shout out to Grayson.
For a belated birthday. And then filming some stuff for the website. So it's good, man. But how are you?
I'm good, man. Thursday's a good day, as you already mentioned. Got a group later on tonight, so that'll be pretty fun. Shout out to the Ville. We do B-signs, so
let's
that's
go.
B-sign to V
Let's
for the
go.
Ville. But enough about us. As you guys already know, whenever we try to get on the podcast, we'll bring on a special guest. And today we have a 2-time Grammy winner, a 3-time
Entrepreneur of the
Year,
a Type A creative. Creative of an amazing clothing line.
Under Forbes list under 40.
Former tour mate with Tadashi, our boy.
3-time NCAA, what do they call the basketball player?
Naismith?
Naismith winners. Yeah. 5-time National Christian of the Year award straight from heaven.
I'll take that one.
Yeah, we got Mr. Is it Winkley?
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Derek Winkley in the building. Let's give him a clap. Yeah. Let's go. How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing good. I'm doing really well. I just moved to Denver and was trying to book a flight here to Dallas, and booked the wrong flight. I booked the flight from Dallas to Denver on Tuesday, so I had to rebook my flight for Thursday. I get to the gate today, and they close the door right in my face.
Ooh, it's the worst.
And so they had to rebook me another flight. And so I made it. I'm here.
Yeah.
And the Lord is good.
Yeah.
Coming out just for the podcast.
I know. Such a busy man, but you make time for us.
Man.
That's important.
Yeah, we appreciate it sincerely, man. And we know it's good for you to come back to Dallas every now and then. With you being out in Denver now.
Yeah, no, dude, it's good. Yeah. I mean, just coming, hanging with family and.
Are you originally from the DFW?
I'm originally from Dallas. So,
from Dallas, okay.
Yeah.
Family, all my family's out here.
All right, so let's get into it. What are you doing out in Denver?
Man,
why'd you leave Dallas? Why'd you do it?
Man, so I think there were a few things that I just felt like the Lord speaking to me about, and just started creative culture, our music label, sub-label of Integrity, and man, just really felt a call to stirring up revival. Actually, there's a group that's there right now, and I was at a service last night, and they were just praying for revival. And a buddy of mine is in the group, and I texted him. I was like, I bet you won't stay and be a part of that, And so for me, it's just I just want to be a part of what the Lord is doing, and not just pray for it. Not that that's bad. I think prayer is great, but I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and so I'm where's the beginning of something? I want to be a part of it.
So this group that you mentioned, they already established, had a name and just an objective going on already?
Yeah. Okay. They're on a mission trip, and a lot of the overseas stuff is closed. So they've a lot of people are just going to different cities, and so yeah.
Yeah,
that's really interesting.
I love it. Well, you brought up Creative Culture Co.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about that. What's the story behind that, and what would you say y'all's heart is for the Father in that?
Yeah, man. long story short, I just think we are a part of the end time worship movement, I would say, or this end time. Yeah, I would say the end time worship movement. I think I was reading Joel 2 last year at the beginning of the pandemic, which led me to, I felt like the pandemic was like this season of, if you remember the story of like the Israelites leaving Egypt and they're going to like all of these cities and like just like the Hittite clan or whatever asleep. And then like the Lord is like, now go charge. And that's what I felt like the pandemic was. I felt like the world is asleep, so like we should be moving. And I know that's probably anti whatever, but that's just how I felt. And so I did like 2 pop-up prayer rooms. Like literally the whole world was shut down, and like the Lord allowed us and opened up some crazy doors for me to be able to pull that off. And so we did that, and then one thing led to another, and I was just like, man, we need to like create something formally, because I'm like a creative, but like you said, I'm a very type A creative, so I'm always thinking like the structure of a thing and how do we like make it last to make it matter. And so we started this, and now like we formed a team, and we're growing every day and just trying to see what the Lord is going to do through, like, again, like I feel like this end time worship revelation for thing where everybody's just kind of pointing to Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's really interesting. That's beautiful that you guys were in a place of, kind of seeing a need, especially during the pandemic.
Yeah.
When a lot of people were just in their homes, not wanting to do much, and then making something out of that. So how do you go from, having this idea, having this vision, seeing a need to, it's one thing to see a need. Everybody sees. We all see needs all over the world. Right. How do you go from seeing a need to getting people who buy into the need? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Buying into, we need to worship. We need to have a culture, during these days. How do you go about finding these individuals, bringing them along, and all that good stuff?
Man, it's really like, I think the Lord has highlighted special people throughout the way, like throughout this process. And I just kind of go, and I'm a doer. Like, I, honestly, like if usually the Lord has to tell me to stop, So I just
doing
go
too much.
I go until the door is closed. So like if the Lord highlights someone or something to me, I'm like, okay, let's just see what happens. And it's worked out thus far. I mean, I think really I think our goal is to create this Revelation 4 moment. So Revelation is like my favorite part, my favorite book of the Bible. I think that
that's new.
I think Genesis through I think it's Titus is the book right before. It's it's a revelation of Jesus Christ. Like the Bible is describing Jesus. Well, Revelation is literally called the revelation of Jesus Christ. So like it's like if you were to read any book, all of these books are really horizontal. Like Genesis is kind of horizontal. It's a story about Abraham and Moses and all of these guys, and like you keep going through the Bible. It's very horizontal. Well, Revelation is very vertical. It's like God, Jesus coming down, and him having a relationship with us, like the elders, the creatures, the angels, the multitude, everyone is like looking up. It's not really horizontal. He's not really talking about like Revelation is not about John, it's about Jesus, and he's getting like all of these crazy visions about like the Lord and how he is the main purpose and main focus of everything. And so I think that's where our hearts thrive, and that's what we're trying to create, like this culture where people are like very vertical. Like it's cool to be cool with people and whatever, like, but I want the creatures, the angels, the elders, the multitude, like just looking at him. And so like that, I think that's like where we thrive, and like we just look for people that have that same heart. Like how can we point other people to Jesus, so.
Yeah, and I mean, I love that you brought up like looking at the heart of people. This is actually something at Upper Room, your place.
Yeah.
This last weekend that Reward and Pastor Miller kind of talked about is like God qualifies those that he calls.
Yep.
And so from there, like you just have to look for the heart and the availability.
Oh yeah.
and from there, like, God will be able to cover you and do the rest. And it's so good because I think that, like, I feel like I struggle with this at times as, like, you know, a part of perspectives or in other areas of life is like I just try to look for the people that I think have everything that I'm looking for, that are perfect in various ways, to be able to then trust them to go from there. To whereas, like, if that's how you're going to trust someone, like, that's never going to happen. Like, you're going to need to take that leap and go. And so that I love that you're able to do that in putting that trust in people. Like, I don't know if you've seen that before, but you just being able to trust people. And then from there, I think you being so committed to, like, the mission and the vision that God's given you, that sows commitment in other people. In a way that they see how, you know, God's doing this through you and Creative Culture Co. and everything like that, and that they want to be a part of it. And that wouldn't be possible without your commitment.
No, I think I'll piggyback on two things that you said. I think, like, honestly, I haven't got that respect from people, honestly. Like, and maybe in certain areas I think so, but, like, people don't really, like, a friend of mine made a song called Young Black Boy, and, like, and it's real for me. Like, that's real for me. Like, I'm in areas where, say what you want, I'm still a young black dude, you know, like, and like, people see that. And so I think it's like, I'm trying to create a space that I was never brought into, like, really, you know? And so it's like, how do you fight the system? You created another one, you know, and so, and not to, like, get, like, political or, like, racial. I don't really care about that. I mean, I care about it, but, like, I don't care to, like, talk about it. I would just rather create something that's better. You know, I think, like, even, you know, the Israelites got out of Egypt to create something better. Like, they weren't trying to change Egypt. It's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Even if you kill Pharaoh, like, it's not going to happen. And so I think, like, the Lord calls us out to be a light and to create this culture that looks totally different from everything else. And so it's like, man, I want to trust people until, you know? And so, I mean, I think that's it for me.
Yeah. I mean, there's even, like you mentioned, the Israelites coming out of Egypt, and, you know, the law coming and setting up a new thing, and them forgetting everything that was in the past. Well, God wanting them to, you know. The Bible says they were stiff-necked, whatever that means. I have no idea. It's like one of the best Bible insults out there.
They need a chiropractor.
Yeah, right. Stiff-necked people, right?
Stiff-necked.
Yeah. That's what they always got. But
I'm gonna start using that.
You got to, man. That's a Christian insult right there.
You a stiff-necked.
Yeah, you really are. I ain't gonna hold you. But how do you get to a place where, you know, God has put you God's put you in a leadership position, right? Starting something, creating something, and inviting people in. I mean, I think there's a weight to responsibility to being there. So how do you, like, you know, deal with all these, you know, being creative, being in this position where people are looking to you for quote unquote answers, or what do we do next, and all these different things. How do you, like, deal with all that?
No, I mean, I think fathers, you know, keeping fathers in front of you, and I have a lot. Like, John Wallace is a father for me. You know, even guys like Reward or Peter Lewis. You know, if I can get those guys on the phone, you know. But I mean, just keeping people that I talk to, like, whether that be weekly or bi-weekly, I think that those are that, like, I very so much so strive to do that. Even Malcolm, this guy who started another thing called Common Hymnal, which is, like, crazy. It's a praise and protest thing, and so like, I just talked to a lot of people that have gone before me. Honestly, like, they teach me a lot, you know. Like, Malcolm has taught me to protect my vision, you know, even if, like, I'm a very opening and trusting person, but, like, there is a sense of, like, man, protecting the vision and protecting what the Lord has given you. And so I think just getting nuggets like that, and then also introducing them to the people that are in our organization or in our family, so that they can hear the same thing that I'm hearing. Because one thing that we learned, that everything is cool until it works. You know what I mean? Like,
you say until it works.
Until it works.
What does that mean?
I mean, 5 guys start a business and they're broke. They get $1 million check. Then it's like, yo, but I did more, so I need more. I need more to cut. It's like it ain't even. It ain't even when it's actually working.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Any business, if when you're struggling, it's cool because you can struggle together. But like when you get successful, that's when people's hearts start coming out, and it's like, it's like, and so I think even just something so simple as that, like we've learned that because we have like fathers and people that are in our lives talking to us, and
It reminds me of a Bible verse that says to think of yourself less than you ought to, right?
Absolutely.
Instead of kind of putting yourself up there, out there. I mean, there needs to be more of like, it's a weird balance, you know, because you don't want to fall. I think one of the things that I want to say dislike about Christians. Not that I dislike things about Christians. Let me repeat myself. But I think one of the things that I dislike is like false humility, right? Right. If God has blessed you with something and somebody says like, man, that's awesome. I don't know if we always know how to be like, you know what, man, thanks, and then give God glory in that. We always do this weird, like, deflecting, like, I'm just a worm. I don't even know how it hit me. I'm like, that's so weird to me. Like, I don't know. I think there's something to thinking of yourself less than.
And I mean, I think, like, I would see leadership or influence. I don't think that the person who can corral a crowd or like, or whatever, I don't think, or somebody who can dictate a situation is a leader. I think leadership is more so empowering others, which means that your hand is not up, it's out. And I think that's how Jesus like entered the world. Like if his hand wasn't up, he like greeted everyone. It was out. He gave everything he had, and so I think just trying to instill that into other people to where it's like, man, we want to create a culture where people's hands are out, not up. Like you don't protect something that you give away. You know what I mean? You only protect something that you think you can lose.
Right.
But if you're giving it away, like you can't lose it. So it's just this whole backwards thought of like, like that is what humility is. That is what leadership is. That is what like actual influence is, when I can actually give you what I have and not like try to protect it. Like, you know what I mean? Don't get too close because you might be cooler than me or whatever, so.
Yeah, because I think that's where like you can catch yourself trying to build your own kingdom rather than like the Father's kingdom. Because like if you're truly building like the kingdom of Jesus, like it shouldn't matter who gets credit for it.
Exactly.
And so then from there, like it doesn't matter whether it's like whether people credit you the success of the ministry, or if it's even your ministry that's successful rather than some others. And like that whole like competition is sometimes good, but like not in this type, not in this area. Like collaboration is all a part of it, and so it's like
that's why I moved to Denver. Like, there's so much competition in Dallas, bro. Yeah. It's like you can't even. I mean, even if you try not to be in the race, you in it. You know.
See, I feel you, and that's what like something I've been thinking about is like I think that like with how many churches are in the Dallas area, like. And then from there, what I think, I'm kind of taking a leap here, but what I think we draw the conclusion is like, hey, churches are forced to be in competition because of like the business structure of things, of like, just the way things are structured. But I don't know if it's that we can place at fault.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe what we should really be looking at is like, do we truly trust like the provision of the Father in the circumstances that are set up for us? Because like, for example, whenever the Israelites were in the desert and they couldn't grow fruit or whatever, it wasn't so much of like a, hey, I blame this desert for being a desert.
Yeah.
Like it's no, like we turned our face from the Lord.
Yeah.
And we're not obedient, didn't trust him. And whenever we did, he gave us manna.
Yeah.
In the circumstances where we were at. And so sometimes I think we look at things the wrong way. And so hopefully that's like something that, you know, is maybe one of the things God's teaching you up in Denver. I don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, and I think like there are a couple of things that like are at play. One of the things that you said is like being able to trust people. Or like seeing like a pattern of behavior. Lou Engle said one time in a sermon that like it's not the ups and downs of a person's life that defines who they are, but it's the trajectory of like how that looks. Because you can be going up and down, but traveling and you know, traveling up, but you can also have really good days and really bad days and be going down, you know. And I think that's why the Lord was able to say, you know, David was a man after his own heart. It wasn't that he never sinned or like didn't have bad days. It was like his trajectory was toward the Lord, you know, and like, so same as Abraham, like same as Rahab, you know, like all of these guys that are mentioned in Hebrews, it's like the trajectory was toward the Lord. It doesn't mean that they didn't have good and bad days. And so I think that is like one of the things that we look at, like we just see somebody's outward appearance at this moment of time and we're like, oh, he's good, you know.
Yeah.
And he could be like the biggest snake in the world, you know, or just, you know, you have your lowly guy. I mean, he could be like the closest guy in the church to Jesus, but we don't see that because his outside look like he might be going through a divorce or like dude, just a situation that's like really got him down. So I think for me, like I really took that to heart, and it really helped me out because I'm like, man, I might not be as bad, like just because I'm having a bad day or this season doesn't look fruitful, I'm still a tree, you know. And so
I mean, I think there's what's that song? I remember the Upper Room song, Jira. You know, people were singing it. Is it Jira?
Or Maverick City and Elevation.
Yeah, that one.
Jira. I'm not gonna.
Please don't say it. We'll take that part out. No, actually, we'll leave it in the podcast. So that's that song. I mean, it speaks a lot about provision and things like that. So, you know, in light of just so many people being knowing that song and kind of it resonating with them, God being a provider.
Yeah. Also, that Creative Culture Collective song. I don't know, but
wait, what? You guys got a song too?
Yeah, our album never released a month ago.
The same song?
No, not the same song. Just any song. I was just doing a shameless plug.
Oh, I got you.
any song on there.
Yeah,
Same
I was like,
same thing.
I said, what? What's going on? No, but like
Derek was behind that.
Yeah. No, but with that,
I'm joking.
No, it's good. I would have done the same thing too. Better than me. But with that, like, how have you found, you know, even with you know, creative culture, how have you found God to be a provider? You know, whether it's in you know, people and just providing in various ways. I mean, there's more to just you know, having a team than, you know, just making the music. There's a lot of things that go
so
you know,
much,
so many things. Yeah,
man, no, it's so much. I mean, I think that's a funny question because I think I'm in like this barren season, right? Like, so I go off on a lot of tangents, so just forgive me. But so I was on a walk on a hike, and like there's these two trees there, right? But one is actually literally barren, and then the other one is like very fruitful. But like they're both, we would still call both of them trees, you know. And so like I think that I'm just like in this season of like trusting the Lord. Like it's a lot. Like I fund creative culture all by myself, and I'm not like a millionaire, you know. And so like it's been really cool to see like us still be able to do the things that we need to do without like backing, you know what I mean? Like we don't have like huge budgets for stuff, and sometimes like it's one of those things. It's like, well, maybe like not right now, you know. But I think the most important things that we set out to do, we are able to do, and I mean we have. Yeah, the Lord has really provided a lot, and it looks different. I think one of the things that the Lord told me last year was that I'm going to bless you with relationship rather than resources. And what that means is just like, I mean, you can, and I'll put it in a biblical sense, like, because the Lord gave me this revelation very, like, recently, a couple of days ago.
Okay.
You will not find one place in the Bible where the Lord prayed for not one of the disciples. Just think about that.
Where you say he prayed for them?
He did not directly pray for one disciple.
Okay.
He didn't directly pray for a healing, for food, for whatever. He mostly like rebuked them, but like he prayed for everybody else around him. But they like didn't have the same relationship that the disciples had. So like anytime Jesus ate, they ate. They never got sick because he was the healer. Like, you know what I mean? Like there was just healing flowing from him. There was like shelter flowing, whatever he had, they had because they were in such close relationship. He never once prayed. He prayed for Peter's mother-in-law or his wife. Never prayed for him once. Never prayed for John. Never prayed for any of these guys. And so it's just like, he's like, I just feel like the Lord is saying, like, just get close to me. You won't ever have to ask me for anything.
Dang. And I think like we can relate in that in terms of like perspectives to a degree. Because like, for example, like a resource could be considered like maybe guests for a podcast. I don't know. And it's something like everyone that we've had on the podcast has just been kind of like, it's never been like people that we like were like trying to meet or anything like that. Like it just literally happened. Like meeting Montel, meeting Kirby, everyone out in LA, like it just happened.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting to like see that all like how all of those just kind of happen from like one like step to the next to the next to the next through relationship. And then from there that like having those relationships made way for like resources for a podcast or a nonprofit. And like for us, like with Alpha Elite also, like that was something where it's just like building the relationship with Russ and Shawley and Christian down there allowed us to then receive like the generosity that Alpha Elite has in donating their inventory to us to then be able to serve the Houston community down there. And it's so cool. And like with us, like I think I shared this with you before, like unity is like a big part of our heart. Yeah. Specifically in missions, like in the church and in nonprofits, just like unifying missions. Yeah. Within all of that. And so relationships is so center to a lot of those things to be able to go from there rather than just like chasing after like things.
Yeah. And I think that's the kingdom too. Like that's, I mean, honestly, I have a lot of opinions about how church works today, but I think it's so kingdom for like us to need each other or like, you know what I mean? Or in a sense for us to like need each other. Like, it takes all of us to make this thing work, and I think that's just so kingdom. I mean, anybody in the world can have an idea and put money behind it and make it happen, you know. But I think like if the Lord is doing something different, He's like, I'm gonna build something here where like it'll just look different. And so even though it's stressful at times, I'm not saying that I'm like. Yes, you know, like it's freaking stressful. Or I get anxious. Like I'm like, Jesus, how is this gonna happen? But like at the end of the day, like when I take a step back and like really think about where He's brought us to, I just trust Him with the rest of the way.
Yeah, and it's something that I wanted to bring up too is like in relation to provision, like. Sometimes we don't see God teaching us patience as Him providing the teaching of patience. Exactly. We look at it from a false perspective of like God not providing this thing that I wanted. Yeah. And I think, like it misses out so much on like the richness of our relationship with the Father whenever we don't look at it correctly. Because like, kind of how I phrase it is like the fruit of the alternative. Yeah. Basically, what's the fruit that God gave you by like what you wanted to happen, not happening. Yeah. And He showed me that through college, which was like such an amazing time. Yeah. As He was like fathering me in that. But I love it. So then from there, I mean, we kind of know this story, but we think it'd be cool to share. How did you get your start in music? Like, how did all of this even come up? How are you the connected man that you are today and everything like that?
Oh man, dude. Man, I think so. Just growing up in Dallas, I don't think that people know the just the width and depth of the music scene in Dallas. Like, there are a lot of people that are here that have played with like some of the biggest artists in the world: Justin Timberlake, Janet Jackson, Snoop Dogg, like. And so all of these guys are honestly like my mentors and like, my friends and this one guy, Robert Sputsy, right? He's like literally like if you ask any musician in Dallas and they're like, that's like the guy, know. And so I was like blessed to like be around him and honestly like tech for him and like just kind of set up drums and do all of these things. But I like met so many incredible people through that situation. I mean, he did To Pimp a Butterfly. He like was on the production for that, and so it's like everywhere he went, I was there basically, and so. Like the Lord just opened up a lot of crazy doors through that, and like most of it was like jazz and like not Christian stuff, but so like kind of growing up doing that, but also like having this church background that I had, I was like, dang, I was on a tour and like just in my jacket because all of the weed smoke that was in the van. I was just like. I mean, it was cool, but it wasn't cool, Like it was cool once we got out, but like I hated the travel from one city to the next, and so I got this crazy opportunity, like by like really to go on tour with this really big secular artist, and man, I just felt the Lord like redirect me, and I think I had met Tadashi by this time. And so I was like, man, if I take this opportunity, like all of the Christian gigs, I'm not doing anymore, So I turned it down, and then I think like Tadashi called me like 2 days later and was like, hey, bro, I'm going to South Africa. You want to go? And I was like, cool, Yeah. And so like the Lord just really like provided like just over the years, and I'm kind of condensing the story, but like just being in Dallas, like being thrown in the fire in these like jazz clubs with all of these crazy musicians and like just really growing up in that. So I play with like no fear, literally no fear. I'm really confident when I'm behind like instruments and stuff. And then the Lord opening the door to like meet the Tadashis and Passion and, all these other guys. And so.
So then going off of that, I'm interested because in you operating in those kind of environments, would you say you were a committed Christian at that point?
Yeah, I was committed by
Love it. Yeah. So then I had a sort of similar, what would be a word for this? Similar happening, I guess, in college.
Yeah.
To where like playing sports, teammates, smoking, drinking, all that kind of stuff, being around that. But what God taught me a lot in college was like how to operate around non-believers in a faithful way. And so from there, was that something that like you think God taught you during that time of just like how to be faithful during this with all these different things around and from there like potentially just how to love others, walk out in faith, share the gospel?
Yeah, man, I think yes. But I think it looks different than like just the yes though. It's like, I mean, the Bible says to love God and then love your neighbor as yourself. So it's like just trying to like approach situations from a normal place. I'm like not the most spiritual person in the world. Like I'm not as
Mr. Upper Room. Are you serious?
Yeah, I know. I'm not swirly like because we live in a very like everybody doesn't get that. So you know what I mean. Like you probably scare people off. Like and it's not to like cater to anybody, but it's just like I'm a very practical person at the end of the day, and like we all got to pay bills. Like I can't some form of fashion, and like I think you can like people can bless you and pay your bills, but Like we all have to drive from one place to another. I can't be so swirling in Jesus that I get in my car just like let go of the wheel. You know what I mean? Like so, I think like all of that stuff is great and I love it. But at the end of the day, like I'm gonna treat a person like a person. I don't care what like, we're here to do a job. It ain't like I'm not gonna not talk to you because like it's weird to me. Like it's so weird. Like even I had a question like, who is your best friend on tour? And I'm like, we were all just working, bro. Like, like I don't gotta know you to like, whatever. It's like we here and we just cool. And I think people respect that more than they do, somebody who's trying to be like
nosy and whatnot.
Yeah, or like just like all up in the air and like, speaking in tongues.
Yeah.
Paul said, "I speak in tongue with the best of them, but it ain't gonna help you." And I don't. And I'm not bashing that because I love that. I think that there's such a place for that. But like just being able to operate in a very practical environment, I think that there's something to that as well. Because that stuff really doesn't help your relationship with people. It's more so like this intimate session with the Lord. When you're out of that, like you should carry that into this very practical environment. You know what I mean? If you can speak in tongues but not in English, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like how can you share the gospel?
Yeah. I mean, was there any like did you get any pushback from maybe, I don't know if you were plugged into a church at the time? Because I remember listening to on Zaytoven. I'm sure you're probably familiar with Zaytoven.
Yeah.
He talked about back when he started, a lot of the church members didn't understand why he was working with all of these artists that weren't Christians. Because I think that's one thing about speaking to a lot of creatives that we've had on the podcast. Something I'm always curious about because, it seems like in Christendom, is that the right word? I don't know. In the Christian world, it's like it's almost like you can only be around Christians. You shouldn't be on tour with people that are not Christians. You shouldn't almost not be friends with these people.
Right.
Only preach to them, right? Type of deal. So was that ever something that you kind of heard like, hey, why are you on tour with so-and-so?
But who does that sound like though? Who does that sound like from
the Pharisees?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like I think we so follow rules that we forget relationship. You know what I mean? Like the Pharisee was the one who said like, why are you healing the blind man on the Sabbath? And like, why are you hanging out with the tax collector? You know what I mean? Like, why are you, I don't think Jesus could have been persecuted. And I think that we are looking for this moment where there's the persecuted church and blah, blah, blah. But we have no influence if we're in the door. If we're only hanging with each other, the only way that I could be, or anyone could be influential, is that we have to be in a circle with people that won't like us. You know what I mean? But like we live in a groupthink society to where it's like, people just don't hang out with people if they don't think like them. And so I honestly like to like not be in situations like that. I want to be challenged. I welcome an adverse thought because that makes me think more about what I'm going for.
Right.
And so, unless they're going to pay my bills, I don't really care what they think.
Literally. No, that's real. Because it's almost like
the church pay way less than the world anyway.
No, they do. I mean, there's this one interesting Bible verse that, I got to try to remember it correctly, but it's one of those things I'm still trying to understand. Jesus, he says that the sons of the world are more shrewd than the sons of God in terms of like how they do business and things like that. I'm like we so almost in a sense like limit ourselves in an aspect to where it's like you can't do business with these people because they're unbelievers. Like what? It doesn't make sense,
And I think I just want to like. I think that there's a way that you can do that without like so totally selling your soul.
For sure.
You know what I mean? I think, and one word that the Lord told me, and I carry it with me every day, is dichotomy, and it's holding two things that are intentioned to be true. And so I think you can like be of the Father. Like the Bible also says that the Spirit led the Lord to the wilderness. You know what I mean? And so I think that there's this thing to where like you can be led and be like walking with the Lord, but like not be in a space that would necessarily testify to that. And so whether that wilderness be like your business or like everybody who's a minister of the Lord is not a pastor.
Right.
You know, and so I think that we should just kind of walk with that in mind. Like you can work at Chick-fil-A and be a minister, you ministering to the Lord is, you know, and speaking of government, I hate to say this, like I think that there are a lot of dreams that die in places like that because people feel like they are only connected with the Lord when they are there. And that's just not like you are to take those intimate moments and be able to apply them in actual practical ways. Like the Lord is not like, you ain't gonna build nothing sitting in a pew listening to anybody, you know? You know what I mean? Like the Lord gave you a mouth and heart and legs and arms to do things yourself, you know? So, yeah,
it was meant to be a part, and we've replaced that part as mistaking it as the whole.
As the whole,
man. And so I think from there, like something that I'd love to get your thought on is I feel like a lot of people who can be seen in this way of like trying to venture out and be around non-believers for the sake of relationship, for the sake of long-term evangelism, you know, just loving on things along those lines. Like a lot of those people could be classified as leaders.
Yeah.
To where they're trying to lead, you know, the people that follow them or the church or people who just watch them or whatever in this way that they see as good.
Yeah.
So from there, making the connection is like, how for you as a leader do you stay committed to what you think God's calling you to do despite the people around you shouting you down or trying to be like, hey, you're going the wrong way or just things like that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it was Jonathan Edwards or one of these guys. I'm misquoting horribly, but I think it was Jonathan Edwards. But they said that like pioneers are the loneliest people in the world. You know, if you ever start something, or even if you like look at people who start things, there's always so much adversity. I mean, Steve Jobs has so much adversity. Kanye West has so much adversity. Like, and like Martin Luther King, you know, and like these are the guys that I like really thrive off of, and I look at, and I think that there are like people that do support and that do follow your vision, but there are so many people that want change without change. You know what I mean? They want it like, and it's not like you can't. It's literally the definition of insanity is to do the same thing and expect different results. And so, not saying that we are insane, but I think there is like this sense of insanity to say the Lord is going to bring change or whoever is going to bring change, and we're still doing the same things. But it's like those people, those special people that the Lord calls out and says like, hey, I'm going to take you on a road that has not been trailed yet, you know, carved out or you know, opened up, you know, like in order for him to make a way in the wilderness, there has to be a wilderness, you know, like in order for him to bring a river in the desert, like there has to be like this desert moment. And so I think it's just it's the mark of just the pioneer spirit. And I also think that person is built different too. You know, I'm very confident in who I am and also who the Lord is. And so I really don't, like, I listen to people, but I like only so much, you know, if it's like, okay, you don't get it. You know what I mean? Like some people need an apple in their hand to know that an apple exists, but like there are other people that only need the seed, you know?
Yeah, because like no one will see the vision that God's given you.
Exactly.
Like while it's still like only you can see the vision that God's given you, and so from there, like you have to have that trust. in your relationship with the Father, and then from there, like fruit's going to come from that.
Exactly.
And people are going to see what you're doing from there. Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of do you know of a guy named Street Hymns?
Yes.
Yeah, it reminds me of him because like being in the battle rap culture and scene. I'm not sure if you guys know what battle rap is, but it's a very
go all the time.
Huh? Right.
Me and Chase just had a battle rap last night.
Oh, really? We got to release this. That's going to be before the intro. We're going to release their battle rap. But it's a very non-Christian environment. It's a very Christian place, and so like I could only imagine. Because I saw him from afar before I actually met him, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And just knowing how some of the battlers, deal with battle rappers or treat them, so from afar I can see that, man, these people are not welcome in this lane, right?
Yeah.
But they still, like you said, have to be in this lane because somebody has to, set
that.
that way for other people.
Yeah.
And in doing so, like I was talking to on Street once, and he was talking about how many people they've been able to reach on the background of things when the cameras are on and people actually reaching out to them, and God has given them influence in that kind of way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so if they would have never put themselves out there to that capacity because, hey, these people are cussing and they're smoking in these venues, as a Christian, you shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
If that was their mindset, then they might have not been able to reach these other people.
Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
And I think we need both. Like, I think it's a both and. Like, I absolutely, I'm in a prayer room every day. And so it's not like I'm anti-church or anti, prayer room or anti-whatever, or, the institution. I think that we need that, but I also think that we cannot be afraid of stepping out and doing the things that the Lord has called us to do. It's very imperative that you trust the Lord past what you can see. Like, that is the definition of faith. Trusting something that I cannot see, or that I'm not comfortable with, or, and so I think it's really just really taking all of those things, like taking this intimate relationship with the Lord and these moments that are built in situations like that, and being able to translate it and also communicate that, because it's something attractive. Like, intimacy is attractive, you know what I mean? Like, you see a guy and a girl that are in love, you're like, dang, I want that. You know what I mean? You could be as single as ever, but the moment that you see intimacy is very attractive, because we are built and created for relationship. And so I think it's that, but that couple also has to be outside of their house for me to see that, and so I think that that's the same thing. It's like, man, how can I take these intimate moments, these sweet moments, that all of the history that I've had with the Lord, and communicate it in a way that other people can see it and be jealous of it.
Man, that's so good. So then, circling back to the leadership topic, I'll go from here, and then we can go out to whatever tangent we want. What do you think are some of the characteristics that describes a Christian leader?
Oh man, I think it's the handout mentality. Acts 4 really marked my life and sending me on a journey that I feel like the Lord will reveal in His timing. But I just think there's a difference in protecting what you have and then giving it away. And I know I said that before, but I think that is a characteristic and the mark of a leader. Even starting creative culture, the Lord just told me, every door that you open or have opened or will open is always not meant for you to walk through. And I think that a lot of times it's all about us. It's all about building my kingdom and man, me accomplishing the vision that the Lord gave me. But I don't think that that's true. I feel like the visions that the Lord gave, and I could be totally wrong, but I feel like they were always for somebody else. You know what I mean? Like Moses, what he got from the Lord was like for the children of Israel, and like Joseph, like what he did was like to save a whole city. And so I think it's really just having your hand out and being very open and very vulnerable. And yeah, I think that that's like the real mark of a leader, just someone who can edify somebody else and encourage. And yeah.
So then, question from there. Let's make it controversial. We'll see. Joshua over here shaking his head. Then, because we kind of talked about beforehand, like the cliche that I think is true, how in today's culture we have a lot of influencers, but we don't have a lot of leaders.
Yeah, yeah.
And so from there, do you think someone who has their platform, has their career, has all of that built on their name, their personality, all of that, do you think that they can be a humble leader with that? Like, do you see that's possible? Okay.
I think it's possible.
Okay.
9 times out of 10, I think that leader falls to whatever it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's possible. I'm not going to say that it's not possible, but I think that, like, I also think that the Lord places people in particular positions for a reason too. So I don't think that you know, we could say that these people are sent by Satan or whatever the case may be. But I think that at some point you just have to have a very strong rock. Like I can fall to anything. Like, you know what I mean? Like you give me money and power and position and no telling what I'll do. You know, it's like, and I think it's the same thing. And I think the thing that is weird for me is when the work of the Lord is the avenue in which you are continuing to have to like keep it up. You know what I mean? And so I don't really vibe with celebrity pastor, because the only way that you can keep that lifestyle is basically to get on stage and like talk about Jesus. And I just a little fishy for me, you know. I mean, I don't know, if somebody offered me 10 grand to talk about Jesus for 30 minutes, I would do it too. But, but you know what I mean? But it's just like, who wouldn't, you know, like the crackhead around the street would do that, you know.
So then I'll toss this your way. What do you think are some of the principles that like influencers can live up to and place importance on to be good leaders and to be a person of Christian leadership that pursues the building of the kingdom? Yeah, I'm asking you. Sorry. I pointed to your direction.
Sorry. What was the question again?
Basically, like, what do you think are some of the principles that influencers, people who have built their platform on their name, what are some of those principles that they can instill to ensure that they're fully pursuing the kingdom first rather than building their name and be able to be Christian leaders? Like, what are some of those principles? And then you could go after.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's this principle of, it's not a principle, it's just a term called "it's not about you," right?
Yeah.
Okay. If we as Christian leaders are building the kingdom, which is, you know, what we talked about earlier, then we have to understand that it's not about you, right? We are just, Bible says that Moses, as big as he was in Hebrews, it says that he was just a servant.
Yeah.
Right? We're all simply just servants. So you can't claim all of this because it's not even about you. It's just servant. You know, Jesus is the son over the house of God, right? Anyways, but it's not about us. So anytime that you build a ministry off of you know, that's kind of where it goes wrong.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Because then at that point, it's like, how do you transfer that thing? Yeah. You can't, because you can't transfer yourself.
And that's the thing. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And I think that's the biggest point. It's like, even if you have like the most purest heart, and again, I don't want to like say that people's hearts aren't pure, because I don't know, but I just think it's really hard, like you said, to transfer it to where, like, if X pastor is pastoring X church, and leaves or whatever happens, the church will probably go down in the flames. You know what I mean? But it's like, man, Moses dies, Joshua is there to step up. And then the Lord literally says, like, I am going to, like, give you respect. Like, people will respect you. And so it's like, when you build something on kingdom, on Jesus, it'll sustain with him. It, like, won't be all on you. So I think it's really like, man, how are these things sustained after this person is? And I also think, like, social media plays a huge part in, like, you know, because it just is what it is.
Yeah, there has to be something to being able to invest in those that are coming after you.
Yeah,
and you see with Paul how, you know, with Timothy and Titus and all these different people, he's constantly investing in them because they're going to be the next generation of leaders wherever they've been placed. You know, so it's that
Apostleship.
No. Lord, I almost said
Apostolic.
There it goes, apostolic. Yeah. It's this apostolic calling to be able to speak, you know, that over the next generation and call people forth. Yeah. Because it's, I mean, like we even have a model at the church where I'm at where through the big word is discipleship. Yeah. Through discipleship, there's multiplication that happens. Yeah. But if you're building something off of you, you know, I don't know how much discipleship you can do, and I don't know how much multiplication you can do because I can't multiply your image. You know, I can't do that. But the likeness of Christ can be, you know, multiplied in a sense. I know that's a weird phrase, but
because I think like one thing, for example, whenever we look at Chaz and like some of the conversations we've had with him, like I think he's one of the most humble people of like major influence that I've met. Yeah. And Tadashi's very similar, but I want to use Chaz in this example as like, for him, like whenever we had the conversation with him, he was like, yeah, like I've lost like 60,000 followers over however so long because I want to pursue God and like what he specifically has for me rather than chase the numbers. And so like, I bring that up to say, I think that like one of the things to add to like this topic is like, I think it's possible to be faithful to God and be a good leader. Like one, if you're purely using your platform, not so much as like an ends that you want to reach of like growing is it as much as possible, but simply like, hey, like, all right, cool, God, you given me this. I'm going to steward this well and honor you and not change that based on how the audience reacts, but like purely give this to them. And from there, like, again, just having the end goal be like the advancement of the kingdom, not the growing of your following and whatnot. So then from there, I think you can function well in that space. And I feel like some people have done that really well. Obviously some haven't because they conform to their following, but I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely want to be replaceable. Yeah. Does that make sense?
And
so then to this, like maybe something is like, because maybe something we're not thinking about is like all of the potential people and disciples that are created because of like Chaz's platform, for example. Like all the people who are doing like Christian comedy now are just clean content because of Chaz and the influence that he had on them. And so then from there, not multiplying like explicitly like underneath like Chaz Smith Ministries, but all of the fruit that's like kind of like related and tangential to that. I don't know.
And I think that's like one of the reasons that I created creative culture, because you can do that like in the creative industry. Like nobody like, you know what I mean? I'm not like singing on any album, you know. Like I'm helping it happen, but I need every single person who is a part of it to be a part of it. Otherwise, like we can't do what we're doing, you know what I mean? And it's like not a platform for me to lift myself or glorify myself. We really need every single person. Like Carl, our manager, does a lot of work. Like every single artist that's on it, like every single door, like everyone at Integrity, it's like it is run literally probably by at least 20 people. And I might be like small on that number. And so I really think that like being able to create things that just aren't, and honestly, I don't know if you can do that in a church. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever seen it done. But because there always has to be like this figurehead, you know. And I think that there are figurehead leaders in organizations, but they're not as glorified. You know, I've never met the owner of Chick-fil-A, but I know the local whatever, you know, the local cashier. And I think like, even though that sounds like really small, like the local cashier, but like she's the only person I know from the company. And so you know, it's like I think being able to create some type of structure where like you're not the face. Like creative culture could absolutely run without me. Absolutely.
I mean, it brings up a great example. If you get a template of a thing, you know, and then you're making copies of it, none of us ever get the original thing. We just get a whole bunch of copies. And I think that as leaders, there should be something like that where, especially kingdom leaders, where it's like, we're just trying to multiply the image. You know, we're trying to just, like you said, a word you use is glory. We're trying to give God glory in what we do and not multiplying me. You know, we're trying to give glory to God in that aspect. And so as we continue to just, like you were talking about earlier, bringing people's eyes to Him in that aspect. So whenever you are training the next leader, it's like, I don't want you to be me. I want you to be who God created you to be.
Exactly.
And just point people to Jesus through that.
And I think that that's the biggest thing about, well, definitely the biggest thing about like what we do at Creative Culture, but like the biggest thing about the church, like you show a different side of the Lord's face than I do. Like you communicate how He looks way different than I do. And like, Chaz, you communicate Jesus way different than I do. But we need all of these to actually see Him. Like we need every single, and it also goes back to like this thing of like taking your intimate relationship with the Lord and like allowing other people to see that intimacy. Like I need to see it because He doesn't communicate with me like He communicates with XYZ. You know what I mean? And so I think it's just really like that, creating an environment to where it's like you said, like I don't want to create another me. I want to see Jesus in whoever I'm around, you know. And then we both communicate Him together. And I think that is the most that's the most powerful thing as Christians. And like the reason that Acts 4 has really marked my life is because like I think that you see that like there's such a communal grace around like what we were doing back then as like believers. There's like a real relational thing. Like there was not like this building thing. It was like, like everybody is bringing what they had to the disciples to disperse it to the entire community so that nobody is in need, you know? And like there's like this, I really need this person. And I think that we kind of like shy away from that because that sounds like a socialist, you know what I mean? Like something that is not kingdom, but I think it is so kingdom to need each other. And you don't get that when there's like just one main leader. Like he doesn't need, you know, we could name the pastor. They don't really need any of their staff to show up as long as they have an iPhone camera in them, you know? You know?
So then we talked about it a little bit beforehand. Kingdom. Yeah. Pursuing the kingdom first. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Like I shared a little bit before, I think that like the whole seeking first the kingdom, right? Like we've been saying kingdom, but like what does that look like? And you know, I think that we have like aspects of the kingdom, like kingdom is reading your Bible or, you know, having an intimate relationship with Jesus. But I think that like it is so much more communal, because one thing that like I think that when you're in those environments where you have to deal with someone else, it's very humbling. It's a very humbling thing because we're all different. And so we have to mutually submit to someone's differences instead of like changing them, you know? And so I'm like, I've been dating this girl for 4 months, and like back me 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever, I would have like nitpicked everything that I don't like about this person. I'm like, yo, you need to change that. You need to change this. I don't like that. I don't like this. Do this that way because that's going to make me happy. But the thing that the Lord has really shown me is to submit to her differences. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's a word for somebody out there. That's all you needed for today. That's a word.
but it's like, man, like I've gotten to like really grow to understand how she functions, and I think that that's the same way. Like that's how the Lord created the Christian community. Like we all like want to create these environments where everyone is the same, but it's like no, like let's submit to each other's differences. So like I can grow because what you bring to the table is so much different than me. And so I think that's what the kingdom looks like. It's a dying situation of like mutual submission and then like glorifying him, like calling out Jesus in that.
Yeah, before Ephesians 5, you know, where Paul starts talking about, you know, marriage and, you know, wives, submit to your husbands, love your wives, and all that. The verse right before that, I think it's verse 29, he says, I'm not quoting verbatim, but he talks about people submitting to each other.
Yeah.
You know, there's this thing about submission, like you're talking about. And it's not really a word that we like.
Yeah, we don't,
you know,
man.
because your flesh tells you, hey, you should be on top, or they shouldn't talk to you like that,
Yeah.
or whatever the situation might be. Submission is something that's hard, but it's a kingdom principle that's so real that makes, you know, because in Romans 12 it talks about as the body we are individual members of one another.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The eye can't be like, yo, I'm not the hand, so
Right.
I'm just gonna do my own thing.
Yeah.
You know, and we see that with churches or even church people where it's like, I'm gonna do my own thing, you do your own thing. It's like, no, we're all one.
Yeah, we should just
We're supposed to function as one. And even it made me laugh. Oh, I didn't really laugh. It wasn't funny. But earlier when you talked about leaving because there's so much almost like competition, you know? It's like, no, why can't we figure out a way to make one thing bigger, you know?
One
it's
of
tough.
the first thing that I said to Michael Miller, we were, I think we were in the race conversations at Upper Room and Tuesday nights. And so I was like, we were kind of talking about like these solutions. And I really do feel like the Lord has given me I don't want to say a solution to a problem, but a part of a solution. And one of the things I shared was because I had told my spiel, and he was like, what do you think that looks like? And I was like, well, you know, if every church in Dallas just pulled their money together right now, we'd be probably a multi-billion-dollar organization. You know what I mean? Like all of these churches, I mean, Gateways, Potter's House, Watermark, Upper Room, like all of these churches, like we could build a city. You know what I mean? Like we could literally buy enough land to build a city and just like love the Lord together. You know what I mean? And I think that's what Acts really looked like. But like you said, like, or like we've been talking about, I just feel like so many people are like hand up, trying to protect what they have, not hand out. And until we start to do that, we won't solve many problems. We won't be influential. Nobody's going to listen to us. You know what I mean? Like, I think even the like presidential election is swung because of a certain party. I don't think the church necessarily has a say, and not you know, whatever. It's not a topic about politics, but it's just like the influence of the church and like church leadership. It doesn't really exist because we're not a voice. Like, you know what I mean? I really do believe like there is like we should actually be a city on a hill. Like there will be a day that I think that there will be a lot of land bought and we just build a city for Jesus.
Yeah.
We can build it over here.
We'll bring that up in a sec because Derek and crew got some plans and thoughts with that, which we'll share here in a little bit. But yeah, I think it's something that we're not good at. I don't think it's just the church. I think it might be like humans in general. I'm not sure, but it's like we don't know how to find this balance between like pursuing unity while still like preserving truth. I guess in a way. Is like for example, from like a theological perspective, like, all right, well, what are primary issues? What are secondary issues? Like, how far do we go out on like primary, secondary issues to where if someone disagrees with this, like, all right, like we can't come together in good like ecumenism and things like that. And it's like, one, I don't know if we have a very good ability to do that as humans. But then again, I look back on Acts 4 and it's just like, all right, it looks like we have the ability to do this. So then from there, is it more of just like a laziness, a lack of faithfulness, a disinterest in having the conversations necessary to find this unity? And like,
I think we've built organizations off of theological ideas, but theology should point us back to Jesus. You know what I mean? Like, theology is the study of how we view God, you know? And so like the study of how we view God. And so it's like, I shouldn't build anything off of like a study of how I view a thing. You know what I mean? Like I might think a certain kind of pizza is nasty, and you might think it is great. You know,
like,
but that's
like pineapple don't belong on pizza. It's quite simple. It's quite simple.
Yeah, pineapple does not belong on pizza.
Thank you.
But, well, we agree
Joshua,
on that.
do you agree?
We're gonna lose some listeners.
But that is how a church split starts. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh,
I'm sorry, guys.
You whatever, you know, you speak in tongues. Oh, well, I hate tongues. And so it's like, well, now we can't. You know, me and Josue would never eat pizza ever again together. You know what I mean? But it's like that's so stupid. But it's like, you know, I hate that. And so I think really, but I think when you create things that only serve the purpose of the organization, it can be that, like, because an organization has a mission statement, and like anything, I mean, we deal with this, like anything that goes against the likeness of the company. I mean, just from a business standpoint, you want to excommunicate yourself with that thing or that person. And so I never think that like, I honestly, I mean, yes, build a building, whatever, but I think that like really churches and Christian things should be built from a communal standpoint, to where it's really not about theology, but it's really about Jesus and everything that he brings to the table. It's not like, I could care less if you speak in tongues, really, you know, or whatever, you know, or don't like pineapple, or like pineapple pizza.
Yeah. I'm just really trying to protect our listeners here. Talking about pineapple and pizza, I think it's a little ridiculous.
Because like,
I can't believe you guys would like pineapple on pizza. This makes sense.
I like pineapple, just not with warm things. Like, it doesn't make like you're not, like, pineapple belongs cold, and whenever you eat it on something warm, it heats up and it becomes gross. Plain and simple. Like, you're not gonna eat a pineapple that's laying out on a beach for 5 days. Like, are you?
I mean, but like, pizza isn't laid on the beach.
But it's heated up though, and then you put the pineapple in there. And, you know what? We'll talk about this later. But no, something that I think like God kind of hit me whenever you were talking about is like, and I think I'm learning about this, I guess, is like, we have to trust Jesus, that we have to trust God that the Holy Spirit will reveal truth to the people that we're in community with through our love, rather than needing to like explicitly prove or share truth or something like that.
I think that's what it is. Like that word is very key to that statement. We're trying to prove something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's almost like so my girlfriend is like not she's romantic, but she's like not at the same time. Yeah. So like if I were like doing something to try to prove something, or like I'll like tell her I love her, like, and she'll say thanks. And I'm like, that's weird. But she's like, are you just trying to provoke me to tell you that I love you? Bro, it's crazy. It's crazy, but it's like...
That's another word.
But we just try to prove something. We try to provoke a response from somebody else by doing something in front of them. You know what I mean? And so it's like, yo, I should be able to take, it sucks, bro. I'm like... Who,
I was even gonna go here. You know what I'm saying? So, you've talked about your girlfriend twice, and you've left us with a lot to really process and think about, and all those good things. So, give us some tools, some keys,
bro,
to help us out. I know Chase is a ladies' man, and I'm shy, so I'm trying to learn. And,
oh my God,
yeah.
You're lucky I'm not bringing something up.
No, man. Dude, I have no advice.
No advice? You're dropping jewels.
You
said I ain't got none for you.
I told somebody the other day, they were like, I think they were talking about me, and they were like, I'm just so happy that you guys are together, and I love seeing my friends in love. I'm like, honestly, I don't care if my friends are with anybody. As long as I'm good, as long as I ain't stressing. No, man, I think, she's, her name is Kenzie, and like she's just really great. Like so I think it starts with that. Honestly, like you know what I mean? Because like you could be with some trash, and I could say mutually submit, but you just submitting to trash.
Submitting to trash.
It's true, bro.
Yeah, it is.
Hey man,
it's trash out there.
Because men could be trash, women could be trash.
Man. And so I think I just listen to the Lord, and I don't know how marriage counselors do it. I have no advice on that.
Yeah.
I think you summed it up. Don't be trash.
Don't be trash.
I was trying to give you brownie points.
And don't submit to trash.
Yeah.
I was trying to give you brownie points.
Yeah, don't be trash. Well, you got to submit because Jesus said even if the husband ain't saved, you got to. So just don't get in the trash. Don't get in the trash situation.
Yeah. Man, another thing, I know Chase, he has all these deep questions. So who comes up with, because as soon as you walked in, I looked at your shirt, I'm like, yo, that's fire. But I didn't want to ask you because like, be that guy, So like, are you the creative behind these, or can we give someone else a shout out, or?
Yeah, Kenzie King, she.
Okay. The truth started to come out. Yeah.
She's a freaking genius. I'm telling you, man. The Lord, like, I mean, he took me through some trash, but I'm wise. I'm wise here. I would not do anything to like mess this up. Like she designed the shirt, and another friend of mine, actually one of the artists, Jonathan Taylor, he designed the back. So
Jonathan Taylor,
whatever. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
It's dope.
Yeah, so we have like right now we have 4, possibly like we're trying to sign like 9 artists. So Jonathan Taylor's one of the artists on Creative Culture, and so he like sent me a part of the back, and we like I just took it to Kenzie because she does marketing for a living, and so I was like, can you do something with this? And so
yeah, that's dope. Cool. So starting to land the plane here. Want to give you the opportunity to share about the 40 Acres project.
Yeah.
So what is that? What's y'all's heart behind that?
Myself and a really good friend of mine, Braden Boone. The Lord just really, I feel like, took me, and then I dragged him into this vision of just this Acts 4 vision of really being a light here, and around all of the time where like a lot of the controversial racial things were happening, I think that we attacked the biggest name or whatever, and so everybody's like Trump or whatever the case is. It's like I was really just trying to find answers. Like, man, what Lord, what is it that you would have me do personally or us do as a Christian community? Like, how do we respond? So obviously that's not to like go on a Twitter rant about a president, who, no matter who it is. But it's like, okay, the way to build community is like there's actually a thing called a local government that people sometimes don't know exists. Like I can actually call my mayor or like the school superintendent or like the chief of police. Like there are actual votes and things like that for these things, which actually help your community. You know what I mean? Biden makes no decisions on what happens on 55th and 3rd or whatever. I don't know. You know, I'm just like naming a street, but it's just like, and so we really got into like, man, how do we locally help these situations? And so Bonton Farms was like where the Lord sent me through a couple of, I had to call a couple of different people and like the mayor, the city council for that area. And like the Lord led me to this place to where there's like 40 acres in South Dallas and this community where it's like really deprived, honestly. And like Bonton Farms is down there doing a lot of really great work. And we're just trying to capture this community by raising funds. We're still in conversation to buy the land, but we just want to buy it and really build something. And there's like, even the way that we're structuring the business side of it is like, it's not for us at all. And I don't want to like give it all away, but like it's just we are structured in a way like I told Adam Bessel do it, which is a city councilman of that place. We like told him our plan and he's like, why would y'all do that? Like, and we were just like, just because we love the Lord, like we're not trying to build anything for us. And so basically, long story short, like we would be gifting shares to people who live in the community. So if like there's this neighborhood has 50 houses, there's probably one person or 3 people that bought the land, bought the houses. In essence, you guys living here would have a share of everything that happens here. So if they build a Starbucks, you get paid on it. You know what I mean? And I think it's like, and that's just very quick synopsis of like what we're doing. But it's like, it really gives you a responsibility to keep the Starbucks clean. And so it's like all of the things that we've seen, like people burning down things, it's because they don't own it. There's no responsibility to it, no ownership, no real sense of pride in these things. And so we really want to build a community around the community where the community owns it. There's a sense of responsibility. There's entrepreneurial training and like insight. We want to tackle like mental issues and therapy and things like that. And so, we're in the process of buying the land, and after that, we'll ultimately buy the entire community and just see what the Lord does with that.
Yeah, man, it's so encouraging to see like. Because for me, I think a lot of people know, like, I have a big heart for, like, philanthropy.
Yeah.
And I really do believe in, like, God's ability to move through generosity and philanthropy and having there be accountability in that. Because being involved in philanthropy for several years now, like, I've seen what can happen when there's not accountability and whenever there's not proper motivations in different places. And so it's super cool to see y'all not just involved in the community, but involved in this kind of way. And being able to see kind of what happens with that. Man, I'm excited to see. It'll be super cool.
I am too. I'm really curious to see, like, because I mean the Lord gives you ideas and you're like, how's this gonna work? And even like me moving away would seemingly be like the opposite of like trying to do this, or opposite of progress, I would say. But like I think the Lord lives in such a dichotomy of worlds that he's like Joseph going to the jail cell got him closer to the kingdom because he met the baker and the cupbearer, which were the king's right hand men, and so it's just like that type of situation, and so we're I don't know how far away we are. I could say that we're a long way away, or we might be a day away from getting a $10 million check. I don't know, but yeah, we'll see what the Lord does with that for sure. I'm excited for it though.
Yeah, man. You have any last things for your fellow ORU alumni?
Yeah. I don't, but I do. So apparently this guy, we were at Oral Roberts University, shout out to them. At the same time, 2010. Oh, I feel like I'm getting old. But that's crazy. It's funny because I remember him. There was this basketball guy that really just stood out to me because he was always by himself. I don't know if you were always by yourself or not. Whenever I saw him, he was always by himself, right? And the one thing that was stuck in my mind was one time we were at the what the kids call the AC Aerobic Center, and this dude, basketball dude, he had his backpack on. He just grabbed the ball, jumped up, and dunked. I was like, who does that? That's not a normal thing. And then 10 years, 11 years later, it turns out to be Mr. Derrick himself. So that's crazy. How I don't think I ever talked to him at school. So you get to see how God kind of just brings things together around. You never know, who you're going to come across during your lifetime. So it's interesting.
No, absolutely. I mean, Shannon Sharp says this thing all the time, like watch what you say to people.
That's what I was trying to say. I didn't want to give him credit. So
Shannon Sharp, man, I love freaking Undisputed and Skip Shannon.
All right, y'all are best friends.
I listen to it every morning.
Me too. Josue
morning.
just got Shannon and Skip playing in
the... No, Skip.
Man.
I know who you're dressing up as for Halloween this year.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with. But man, I'm really looking forward to the shirt, man. I got that olive green. It's gonna come out. Everybody's gonna be asking me about it.
King.
Yeah, shout out to her. I'm gonna give her a hand because she's been brought up 4 times, and every time it's been great. So shout out to her. I hope she listens to this.
Yeah, she will. She's supportive, man. She's freaking supportive, man.
Yeah, you're going to get some brownie points. That's we try to help relationships here at The Perspective, so that's all we do. Yeah.
Any last things you want to share about?
Man, just want to say this: it's an honor to just be a part of the podcast and just see what the Lord is doing through Perspectives podcast and everything else that you guys are doing. All of the connections, all the relationships. I think just continuing to see the Lord through it with every idea. Anybody want to donate or even invest in creative culture? I feel the Lord saying that somebody's has $1 million written on their heart. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
You should do it.
Yeah. No, man. I'm just super thankful, super honored, just to be a part of what the Lord is doing. I think this is what it's all about. So
Man, I love it. And we definitely going back to the last phone call you and I had, no, I guess the long phone call that we had.
Yeah.
I can definitely foresee a good amount of collaboration going
Absolutely.
on with some projects that we've hinted at on the podcast and in other areas.
I actually have a question. So let's say I have an idea for like a clothing thing or whatever.
She's down, bro.
She's down? I ain't gonna say no more. I ain't gotta say no more. I'm done.
She's
down,
man. She's down. Well, you gotta ask her, but she'll be down, dude.
Is she here?
Yeah, she's in Denver.
Oh, in Denver.
Yeah.
So that's why you moved to Denver. Truth comes out. Find out.
No, man. Yeah. I can. That's a whole nother podcast. I could talk about her.
Part two.
2 hours.
That's what we'll have you on for round 2, so we can do video next time.
Yeah.
Got our boy Thomas and Angelica. Goodness. Out here to do some video, but yeah, man, just until then, God bless you on everything you're doing, and it's gonna be a lot of fun, dude.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Thank y'all so much for tuning in. That'll be a wrap for us today. If you enjoyed the podcast, please like, comment, share, and subscribe, all that fun stuff. We'll be linking all of Derek's information in the description, all of Creative Culture Co's, so y'all can go support them and show them love. So
subscribe, follow, subscribe to YouTube, follow Instagram, follow Spotify. Actually, we need more Spotify followers than Instagram, honestly, because that makes us money. So.
That's true.
And then just quick plug, if there's any one song that they should listen to off of the album, what should it be?
Just Come. Written by Tyron Zachary and sang by Tyron and Jonathan Traylor.
Yeah.
And so like that's the song.
Yeah, bro. Dope.
Really special.
Well, bet. Y'all go listen to that. And so until next time, y'all go listen to that. And much love. God bless.